Welcome everybody to our first Learn Over lunch for 2013. Thank you all so much for coming out. Glad to see we have a more than sold out crowd. Now you all know how our board meetings feel. Really comfy and cozy and warm. We will leave the door open and we're trying to get it cooled down.
Stand up.
Yeah, it got warmed up really fast, especially.
Oh, good.
We're going to turn off the heat lamps too in a minute. But we do want to welcome Richard Oltmann with BlueSkyTech2013 and his wife Victoria. They are both partners of ours, and Victoria is also on our board. Richard does help out the Bixby Metro Chamber a lot. He hosts our server, does all of our support for us, and if you know anything about us, you know that that keeps him quite busy. So, but not too busy to help everybody else too. This time I'm going to turn it over to Richard and enjoy.
And I'm Richard Oltmann. I am the I'm the principal consultant and CIO with BlueSkyTech2013. Again, this is my wife Victoria. She's the president of the company, so she's my boss. Make sure I do all the work right. A little bit about myself and our company. I have been working in the IT field for about 14 or 15 years now. Our company has about 50 years combined experience in the IT field, so we've been working in both the Microsoft world, the Novell world, several of the product worlds, and one of the things we love about our company is we love doing what we do. I can sit at home and work on a computer all day long, sit in my office, work on a computer all day long. It's fun for me, so we really like that. And what we're going to talk about today, to start out with, is basically cloud services. We're going to kind of give you an overview of cloud services. Now, one of the problems I may have is that I'm the technical person with the company, so I'm going to try not to get really, really technical on this. So, please stop me, ask questions if I say something you're not sure of. I'm going to try to, just give the basic parts of the cloud, what the capabilities of the cloud are, how it can help you, and everything like that. Okay? And maybe I can get this to work too. The problem is the computer's behind him.
Jim. That was a laser you were pointing earlier. Got it.
Okay. So what our agenda is what's the cloud? I'm going to fall to. What's the cloud? We're going to talk about the cloud services. We're going to talk a little bit about the public and private cloud. Because one of the things a lot of people don't know is that the term the cloud is just kind of a generic term, but there are public clouds and there are private clouds. A lot of companies, you may even have a cloud right now that you don't even realize. And then we're going to use why use the cloud. So what is the cloud? It's basically an approach to computing about an internet scale, connecting a variety of devices and endpoints, computers, PCs, your mobile devices, so they can work together. You can think of it like, some people say, well, that sounds like the internet. And if you want to go with one terminology, technically the internet is the cloud. It's a cloud formation. Now what we're doing is we're taking the capabilities of the internet and allowing it to coordinate and allow all of our computers to work together in a much more efficient way, because we've become such a disjointed companies now. It's not like we all come to work at 8 o'clock and we work till 5 and everything occurs in the office. We have a lot of companies where they don't even work in the office. In fact, I just read an article yesterday where one company allows their employees to work from home, and he outsourced himself to China. So he sits at home watching cat videos all day and outsources his work to China, and he's making several $100,000 and paying the Chinese people several $100s to do all of his work. He did get caught because it was all on the internet, but that's part of the thing, is we're not there. I can actually be driving down to a customer site and have another client call me and say, hey, we have an issue with the server, could you look at it? Well, 10 years ago or so, it'd be, well, wait till I get to an office, connect into a computer. Now it's, let me stop my car, because I really don't want to do it while I'm driving. So let me stop my car, and I can connect into the system and fix their stuff from the car. I've done it on the side of the road and parking lots and everything. So that's part of what it is we need to get that data to you as efficiently as possible. What consumers see is the cloud provides a way to access your stuff from any device whenever you want. So a lot of you probably have mobile phones, right? And a lot of you have the smartphones, and they connect into the cloud. If you have an iPhone, that's one of the options on the iPhone is to go to the iCloud. And it's just basically moving your data up to the cloud. So that way, another good thing about it is it's backing it up. In case your phone crashes, the cloud still has it. But it allows you to access those resources. What we see it is a way to deliver a standardized service to our employees. So we can get the most efficient use of the employee's time, no matter where they are. It's simple. It's not really a big thing. A lot of people go, "Oh, it's the cloud." It's just a way for us to get the data to you and just figure out how to use this stuff. Now, the cloud has 3 different types. If you're looking for the cloud server structures, there's basically 3 types of cloud servers. We at Blue Sky provide that capability. We have cloud systems throughout this area to where you can use our servers as in the cloud. And in that scenario, there's 3 types. And the first type is known as Infrastructure as a Service, or IaaS. And in Infrastructure as a Service, I, as the cloud provider, basically host a server for you, for your company. And then what you do with it is up to you. If you want to load Exchange and have it for an email server, that's fine. If you want to have it be a database server, that's fine. If you want to do CRM on it, that's fine. We, as the cloud provider, all we're concerned about is to make sure that that server is up and running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365, 52 weeks a year. We just need to make sure it's up and running. What you do with it is up to you. And we have several clients that's what we do for them. We provide them a server, and they log in. That's actually me.
You silence your cell phones?
The weird thing is that's the phone I forgot about.
Not the car.
Anybody know how to turn that on? I got it. I have 2 phones. So we give you a server, and you, like you say, you do whatever you want. The consumer manages the virtual machine running in the cloud server's environment. And by the way, most of the things that we're doing up in the cloud is virtualized. In other words, and we had a long discussion with one of our clients one time that we were going to virtualize this environment, and we needed to buy a server. And he goes, "Well, if you're virtualizing it, why do you need a server?" Because it's virtual. Literally, we talked to him for quite some time. But basically, we have large servers in our environment that can host multiple servers inside that one server, that one physical box. Like the servers that are running for our company, we have one physical box that is running 7 different servers to host all the information we need for our company. It's much more efficient. It allows us to do a lot more stuff with that capability by virtualizing everything. The other option is platform as a service. So what happens in the cloud environment is that we take a server and we're eventually going to move it up and we're going to start doing more and more work for you, is the best way to put this cloud environment. And platform as a service, the hosting provider provisions you with a particular platform. So in that case, let's take it like Dave and say, I need to have some place to put some databases. I have a lot of SQL databases. I need something to run my databases. Then I can have a front end that accesses those databases, but I don't want to have them in our environment. I need somebody to host my databases. Well, we as the cloud provider, instead of just giving you the virtual machine and you load the operating system, we load the operating system, we install, in my case, since I'm a Microsoft consultant a lot, we install a SQL server, and then you put your databases in there, and now we're working. You provide the front end access to databases. Now it's our responsibility to host the server, the operating system, and the database server. So now we have more work on our side, that we have to take care of more things. We need to make sure that all you have to worry about is whether the databases are there or not. You do whatever you want with the databases. We need to make sure everything else is working for you. So we're starting to take more and more of your IT onto our side. And then the last one is software as a service. In software as a service, we do it all. We have the database, the hosting provider hosts your application, and the entire infrastructure that makes that application work. I threw up there and said, Microsoft Office 365 is an example of that. Now, personally, I'd rather you not go there to Microsoft Office 365 because they're my competitors, but it's a good example because it's out there. Because I actually do the same thing that they do. But it's a good example of that, that we take care of your email system. So if you want email, we can actually do a server to where we'll take care of your email servers, your SQL servers, and all the stuff that's in the background that makes that work. Because one of the things that the disjoint between us as the IT and the individuals within the company is the fact that somebody from the company tells IT, I want a database server that's going to provide access to this information. They kind of describe what they want. Can you make that happen? To them, they just need a site that's going to show the data, and that's all they see. But what we see in the background on IT is, well, we have to build a server. We have to add that database server into it. We have to make sure the databases are there. We have to build the front end. So that's at least 4 things. And then you come back and say, and it has to be up 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year. Okay, now we need multiple servers. Now we need multiple of everything. Because you're telling us it has to be up 24 all the time. So we have to make it so redundant that it'll never go down. Usually what we come back and say, so you have a lot of money you want to spend on this, because it dramatically increases the cost of everything. And this is, again, where the cloud can come in. Because if you tell your company that I need a server that's up 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and never goes down, rather than spending $4,000 on a server, you're going to spend minimalistically $40,000 on a server or more. Because we have all the back infrastructure that has to occur for that. Minimalistically, it's 10 to 12 times more expensive to keep it up that long. So that gives us the option of saying, hey, well, we can move some of this, we can offload it to the cloud and let them take care of it. Now, as a consultant, several years ago, when the cloud started going up the way it was going up, I was going, man, this is going to take me out of a job because people are going to just move everything to the cloud. The cloud actually is producing 14 million jobs. It's actually producing jobs. And for companies in the IT, it's actually giving the IT people, rather than having to worry about the actual infrastructure, it's giving them a chance to start looking at more things that we can do for the company and offloading some of their day-to-day work and allowing them to start thinking, well, now that we can do this, why can't we make it do this and give you access to data through your phones and through your iPads and your other devices, so they can start thinking outside the box more rather than having to take care of some of the day-to-day server structures. So that's one of the advantages of the cloud. And I also thought, let's join this thing. Now, there are 2 types of clouds. There are public clouds and there are private clouds. So let's talk about the public cloud first, because that's what everybody really thinks about. The public cloud is hosted by me and other people, but let's just go with me for now. It's hosted by BlueSkyTechnologies. It's available for public use. It usually hosts multiple tenants. We do a lot of work with some in the medical profession. We host a lot of medical profession systems. They're all over the country. They're accessing they're using our systems, and they are literally from East Coast to West Coast. And actually, I got it covered, all 4 sides. I've got north, south, east, and west. So it's good. It is good security. We have a very high standard of security. We go through a lot of back-end security to make sure. In fact, some of our clients say, "Can you make this happen?" And we just go, "No." They look at why, because it's just not secure to do that. Especially in your particular profession, we can't allow that to happen. We have to cover ourselves, and we're covering yourselves in that scenario. So it's a lot more security than you think. Because one of the things a lot of people say with the cloud is it secure? I mean, you've asked yourself that question, right? Is the cloud secure? Okay, why do you ask yourself that question?
At your physical location.
It's not at your physical location. Well, then I could ask the question, is your stuff secure? Hopefully you're going to say yes, because I know who you're But I mean, I as a cloud provider is going to come back and say, is your stuff secure? And you're going to say yes, and I'm going to, well, why do you think that? Well, because it's in our building. Well, what makes, and I mean, you can get into this. What's the difference? I mean, if you start thinking about that, there's not much difference there. If you think yours, trust me, if you think yours can get hacked, I have to think of it not only from you, I have to think of it from every one of my tenants. So I have to go above and beyond what you think is secure. Because I'm covering multiple tenants, multiple access points, and everything like that. I have to really make sure, because if I get hacked once, it doesn't just affect my company, it affects 50 companies, and they're not going to like me. So we really upload that security. It's less costly because the more tenants we have, they absorb our cost. We can go out and get this equipment and do this because we have multiple tenants doing this. So it's a little bit lower cost.
But what do you mean when you're saying it's public cloud? Is it something that, like if you're talking about a doctor's office, is it something that people can come in and access it?
No, well, there's several versions of the public cloud. In our versions of the public cloud, your doctor's office only has access to their doctor office stuff. They literally have their own server. They access it from them, and if there's 12 other doctors on the hosting server, they can each access their own data. There's no shared, there's no intertwining data between that. Now, there are other versions of the public cloud, and the best example of that is literally the iCloud, the iPhones. All of that data is going into a massive storage point. It's just basically, in that case, it is a very large bank of servers that's just holding data. And you just get a little sliver of it. So your data and his data is basically in the same area.
So it could be hacked into.
So once we get into yours, we have a real good chance of getting into his. Where in the business public clouds, it's very individualized. But when we go to private cloud, somebody else should do it.
You did. I heard you.
I'd hint, but
She
she volunteered once, that's all she's going to do. But when we go into the private cloud, what we're talking about there is this cloud is literally in your building. It's usually designed to be in your building. We're going to take the physical infrastructure and virtualize it, is one way to look at this. Let me give you an example of a couple examples of a private cloud. There are some large companies around here that I've done some consulting with for many, many years, and one of them I've been dying to get into their server room because I'm always on one floor above it or one floor below it. They would never let me into that room, and it was just a massive security to get through that door. I mean, literally you had to have 2 employees sign off on it, somebody to go through, and you went through about 4 security doors before you ever got into that server room. One day I finally got in. And it was pretty much after they had done a lot of their virtualization. And the size of their server room was about the size of twice the size of where we do lunches. The ballroom lunches.
Wow.
And it was empty. Because they had virtualized everything. It used to be full, but it was pretty much empty. I was saying, wow, you could have some ping pong tables and pool tables, and you could have all sorts of, a ball in here, because it wasn't needed anymore. It was just a big room, and there was nothing in there. Well, there was a lot of servers, but I mean, it was going, God, how depressing. The fun part was getting through the security, but they had virtualized everything. And what you can do with the private cloud is when Christy calls up one day and says, hey, Richard, I need a server that does X, Y, and Z. Remember back there that I had to say, well, I've got to make sure we've got all of this backward infrastructure to make that work. And she goes, I need it up for 4 months, which is a different scenario. It wasn't up for all the time. She goes, I only need this for 4 months. So you want me to go out and buy $50,000 worth of equipment that's only going to be used for 4 months? Yeah. Okay, well, what do I do with it after that? With virtualization, with the private cloud, I have this large mass of virtual machines, and when you say I need this for 4 months, I can just allocate that for 4 months. And when you're done with it, I can reallocate it somewhere else. One of the servers that I have running for our personal stuff, I have literally over-allocated it. And let me get a little bit technical. This server has 16 gigabytes of memory in it, and it has a couple terabytes of hard drive space. It's one of our smaller ones, that's why we get to use it. And I have 7 servers running on it. And if you were to go into each one of the servers and look at the amount of RAM that's allocated to the servers and add them up, it adds up to 24 gigabytes of RAM. You see the difference? There's only 16 gigs of physical RAM in the box, but I'm using 24. Because when you allocate memory to a computer, it doesn't always use it all. And I have the capability of over-allocating and doing things like that. So we have that capability in the private cloud of saying, if we build a large enough infrastructure, we can use it here for 4 months, and then when you don't need it, we can allocate those resources to another project.
So do you retain that 4 months worth of data?
We retain the data.
Information, and then they can access it?
When they need it back, we can spin them back up again. I've got 2 or 3 servers sitting there. Of the 7 running, there's also 3 that aren't even running. If I need them, I can spin them up and start running them. So we can use them when you need them. So when you know, because what you're starting to see in a lot of companies is seasonal use of data. The accounting firms are going to start getting busy right now, right? They're going to be busy for the next 3 or 4 months, then they'll peak out and then they'll drop off again. So they're going to need much more resources from the computer side for the next 3 or 4 months, and then they'll drop off. Walmart, Target, all of those companies have this private cloud structure. During Christmas, the use of their systems massively rise. Right after Christmas, the use of their systems drop back down again. And their server structures can handle that. So when they need more stuff for their websites and everything like that, they can allocate that. Think of Amazon. What happens, during Christmas time? And Amazon's always busy, but what happens at Christmas time? They need more. What would happen if Amazon's web servers went down for an hour?
Millions.
Millions and millions of dollars will be lost. So they need to, during Christmas, they need to ramp up and have more resources. They can do that through their private cloud. And that's basically what it is. It's usually hosted by the organization itself. It can be hosted by a cloud provider. I could do a private cloud for a company. I could go in there and allocate a section of my structure for your company, and it becomes your private cloud. You've offloaded some of the work to me, but you take care of the rest of it. But most of the time it's inside. We can allow for automated deployment of the systems. Literally, you just go to a website with a lot of these new private clouds. You go to a web interface and say, I need a server that does this, 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 and this. It needs to have Windows 2012, SQL 2012, a little bit of this. It's like a cookbook. And you click Finish. The system is built automatically in the background. That's assuming we all set it up right. You do have to assume that we... So, why use the cloud? Modern applications. So what we're looking at here is the problem. The problem we have with the modern applications. Modern applications we're building now are highly complex. They require many components, a lot of dedicated hardware possibly, and a lot of multiple environments. I'm really big on SharePoint. I'll talk to you a little bit later about that. And be grateful. I've been talking for like 20 minutes, and this is the first time I said SharePoint. But I usually say that a lot. I'm really big on SharePoint. If we build a high-end SharePoint system for your company, we don't build one. We want you to have 2, possibly 3 different environments. A development environment, a testing environment, and a production environment. So rather than having one SharePoint server, or 3, which is usually what it takes, We're talking 9 servers. So there's a large amount of complexity to this. They're usually underutilized because we have to scale them for worst case scenario. We can't just give you a 4 gig server and say, well, we hope this is going to work, because you're not going to be really happy about that if it doesn't work. So we have to allocate for the worst case scenario, and they're usually underutilized. This is one of the great things about the cloud is, what are you going to do in case of a disaster? Have you all done disaster planning or anything like that? You could spend $250,000 for a DR site that, guess what? If everything works right, you'll never use it. Isn't that the idea? We don't want the disaster to happen, but we have to be prepared for it. You'll literally have $250,000 worth of server hardware that gets used 4 times a year when we test flip it over. Yep, it worked. Now let's go back to production. And it just sits there. But in case it ever happens. Inflexible, everything's always on. Once we, with these modern applications, we got to set it up. We can't just turn it off. We're going to turn it off at 5 o'clock tonight. I was working at one company. They went to lunch, came back. Nobody got an email. They said, "Do you want to turn the servers down, off?" I go, "Yes. When you go to lunch, we turn everything off. Gives the computers a break." I go, "Seriously?" I go, "No." No, we really no. Nobody emailed you. They were probably at lunch too. It takes a long time with this with physical stuff. I'm so used to the virtual world. I had to build a physical server for a client, and I stupidly said, "God, did it ever take this long?" He goes, "You do this, right?" And I go, "Well, virtually. I can build a virtual server, literally let's say I'm putting a disk in. If you're building a computer, it takes like 40 minutes to load the operating system. 10. When I do it through the virtual servers, in 10 minutes it's up and running. And that's me doing it the slow way. We can have them up in like 4 or 5 minutes if we have to. We can spin them up that fast. So it's a lot more efficient. Where's all this hardware and software located? With this modern application, where are you going to put it all? It's in your data centers. It's in your closets. It's here. It's there. I mean, we always ask the question about the cloud. Where is the stuff in the cloud? And that's something you really should ask your cloud providers, is where is this stuff? If you're going to put your data up in the cloud, it's a valid question to ask the provider, where are you putting this? What country is it in? Or what state is it in? Or something like that. It's a good question to ask them. We keep ours within the United States, within Oklahoma and surrounding areas, but we keep it local. So, but physically, you have to have room to have all this doing if you're going to do this. You have to have a server room. Now we're talking power. Now we're talking internet. All this other stuff that you have to take care of. So today's technology challenges. Server sprawls. Dedicating servers to a single application. I've got a perfect scenario for this. I had a client that used a product called a Room Wizard. Has anybody ever heard of them? They sit outside your rooms, your conference rooms, and they're about this big, and it's a little video screen, and so when you need to schedule the room to have a conference, you use your Outlook and you connect into the Exchange email server and you schedule the room, and when you come here, your name's on here. It's really, that's about all. It's really cool looking, but that works by putting a virtual directory on the email server. And when the room's busy, the lights are red. And when the room's free, the lights are green. And when the Room Wizard breaks, I call it a Christmas tree because they're green and red. And I had a client, we set this up, and once a week, they would call me and say, the Room Wizard's Christmas tree. Can you fix it? And I'm the consultant. I'm going, yes. I'm making money. I mean, click, click, I've got it fixed. Thank you very much. They're overly joyed. Next week, they call me, can you fix it? Yes, I fix it. I'm the one irritated. And I'm the one making the money on this deal. And I'm going, this is ridiculous. So I went out and fired up another virtual server and loaded the Room Wizard application to that virtual server and dedicated a server just to do that. Since then, they have never crashed. Would you ever have thought of doing that and buying a $5,000 server to do that. You'd never think to do that in the physical world. In virtual, it was no big deal. Fire it up, we're good to go. I could allocate a very minimalistic server and resources to that and make it work. I've since seen other clients, I see the rumors where I said, "Do you have problems with that?" They go, "Yeah, it crashes all the time." I go, "I can fix that." 70% of the IT budget is spent on maintaining inflexible data center equipment. We call that old equipment. I mean, what do you consider old in the way of computers? How old?
Yesterday.
Last month.
I mean, how long have you had your desktop?
Too long.
Less than a year.
We usually say that a physical server, when you buy a physical server, I use Dell a lot. When we buy them with a 3-year warranty. So when do we buy the next set of servers?
2 years.
In 3 years, when the warranty goes out. We may stretch it for a 4th year, but on the average, depending on the workload of the servers, when the warranty goes out, it's time to buy new servers. That's how fast we rotate servers. Because you don't want them to go down, right? So if you don't, they're up 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So after 3 years, that's a lot of runtime on it. We rotate them out. They can last longer, but if you tell me I never want them to go down, I'm going to rotate them a lot faster. So there's a lot of budget in that. Compliance and security. Well, the top concerns for IT. When we talk IT, I have to protect from the internet. I have to protect my clients from the internet. It's me against the world. The hacker has to find the one mistake I made and get in. So there's a lot of work involved in that and making sure that we get everything covered. Cloud vendors' data centers. So the solution to that is, well, we can use these cloud vendors' data centers. They manage some or all of the systems. We could literally move all of our stuff off-site and not have anything IT, not have a lot of the IT stuff inside the company. Most companies, it's a mix between the two. There are some systems that really need to be local, but there are some systems we can offload to the cloud and let them manage it. It provides great scalability and elasticity because you can call them up and say, "Hey, I need more stuff." I get clients, they call me up, the doctor will call me up and say, "Hey, we're going to have 50 more people connect in. We need a bigger, badder server." I go, "How big and how bad?" He goes, "Well, can you double the RAM and double the processors?" Yep. "Well, how long will that take?" It's already done. He goes, "Seriously, when are you going to have it done?" I go, "Well, literally, it's already, I mean, with today's society, I can do it while I'm on the phone. It's done. We've doubled the RAM. We don't have to shut the we used to have to shut the virtual machine down, make the changes, bring it back up. We can do it on the fly now. Sometimes it's not good to say that. Sometimes 20 minutes.
But it's gonna cost.
Then I can go watch the cat videos. Call them back. It's done. It allows, this is what I was talking about earlier, it allows IT to focus on other things. It allows your IT people to focus on making a better world for you. Showing you some of the cool new things that can happen and focus on making that happen rather than having to worry about making sure the servers are running and making sure some of the other stuff. We can now start expanding our capabilities. Now, here are some uses. There's about 3 or 4 slides of this, I think, of what some of the uses of the cloud are. Some examples. Cloud applications. There are things out there that are built specifically to be working in the cloud. That it's better that they just go sit in the cloud structure and then you access them through your mobile device maybe, or a web app or something like that. A web page or something like that. There are mobile applications. Okay, how many of you have iPads? I said, aren't they fun? Mm-hmm. I mean, I actually have one. This is not my
I was
purse.
gonna say in your red.
My red purse.
Where's the purple purse?
Looks good.
Yes. Seemed like a.
I have been known to walk around stores carrying that red purse.
Like every good husband should.
And I get a lot of compliments too. I actually have an application here. This is the most expensive application I've ever bought. I paid $20 for this. Seriously.
It doesn't say free at the end.
But you're missing out on all the fun.
No, I'm not on your wireless yet. You think I should know the password to that too? But I can access my entire SharePoint environment from here. Yeah, you have to pay $20 for it. But I can access the entire SharePoint environment, and I can get any of my data that's up on my servers from right here. If you're one of my clients and you call me up and say, hey, my computer crashed, or I need you to fix something on the computer, I have two choices. I could fire up that very large laptop back there that I really liked, but it's very large and cumbersome, or I can do it from here now. The mobile. Actually, I could do it from my phone, but I can't read that. That screen's just a little bit small for me. So that's part of the mobile applications. High performance computing. Now, what do we mean by that? So NASA, a lot of the agency and stuff, they're trying to calculate something about space. Well, they need a massive amount of computing power to do that, right? Where do they get that from? The cloud. What's the cloud to them? Your personal computers. You can literally join a grid and start doing computing for NASA. And they just come in, they load a little application onto your computer, and it comes in and takes some of your resources and starts helping with the math calculations that they need.
How is that any different than what Tulsa wants to do with the supercomputer?
Well, that's basically what they're wanting to do with the supercomputer. Is just grab a lot of resources and bring them all into one. It's just a big version of the cloud. It's a version of a private cloud to allocate for the schools and everything. And, heavy computing loads, massive power needs that are needed temporarily. Here's another one. Cloud backups. We do it here. All of their information is backed up to the cloud. They probably don't know this, but all of their information is backed up here too. There's multiple versions of backup occurring here. One of the things, I'm really kind of picky about that. One of the things I never want to have to go to is go to tape or go to the backups to get the data. That's a lot worst case scenario for me is that I have to actually do that. I want 3 different options before I get there. So we have multiple versions. But one of the things is you need to get your data off-site. And what's the fastest way to get it there usually is using the cloud now is the fastest way. Before the cloud, we would back it up to tape. We would put the tapes into a locked box. Somebody would drive up today, pick up the locked box, and take it to their vault system somewhere. Which most of the time, I have no earthly idea where it is. Here's the problem with that. And we're talking security, because a lot of people go, well, the cloud, where's my data? We go back to that security thing. Well, let's talk the old way of doing it. We backed it up on tape. The tape went into a box. The box went into a car. The car went somewhere. And then they put it on their shelves. And when we needed it, it reversed back the other way. Where's the data? It's been in somebody's car for a while. It's in their vault system. I mean, do you trust? Have you been to that vault place? I've got clients, no, never been there. Well, where is it? They go, I don't know. It's, they can get it to me within 2 hours. And I go, so you've got that theory. What happened to the data in that transit? You've got the same thing in the cloud. It's still going up through the cloud. We use secured connections. We encrypt the information as it goes up into our cloud systems. So it's encrypted. So it is secure. But we've only got your to them. There's a shorter distance in actually using the cloud backups. Secure storage off-site data. A lot of companies, I love this answer. So where's your backups? On top of the server. So when the server crashes, well, the backups go with it. We had one guy, he would, every day, we backed his stuff up, he would come in the morning, pick up his tape, and put it in the trunk of his car, take it home that night. And I was there one Saturday, one day in the summer when he did that, and I go, what are you doing? He goes, well, that way I won't forget it. I go, it's 155 degrees in there. Wait until you leave. He goes, ooh, never thought of that. Melt the tapes. Disaster recovery sites, hot sites and warm sites. So, what happens if your building blows up? I actually had a client that was their fear. They could do that. They could blow up their building. They had the capability of blowing up their building. So they need something to recover from. We've got two options basically with cloud technology in that scenario. We've got hot and warm sites. A hot site is basically any data that goes to your production site is immediately copied over to the cloud site, to the cloud versions. So it's an instantaneous copy. So if this building goes down right now, the hot site is up and running immediately. We have no loss of data. A warm site is we're close to that. We need to bring the last backups in. We may transfer the backups once a week. So if this thing goes down, we've got to go find the last week's backups, restore them here. So we may, the hot site's up in minutes, the warm site's up in hours. But the advantage to the cloud in that scenario is you don't have to pay for all that infrastructure. You just have to pay for the capability of having that. So the cost factor goes down a little bit. And the other thing you need to think about in your disaster planning, which we do also, is you don't need everything hot-sided. I've worked with one company. It was a small to mid-sized company. They had 47 servers I was maintaining. They didn't need all of them. If they crashed, we went through and said, what servers do you need to make your company really work? Of the 47, they could live with 7 of them. The other ones were fluff. We have to have these 7 servers to keep doing our business. The rest of them just make things cool and more efficient. But as long as we have these 7, we're good. Then, in that scenario, we could rebuild the other 40 as time, as we got the sites back up. So you get that capability with the cloud. The problem is I keep forgetting which way to click. Now, here's a cool one. I think she was watching me write this, and she was Skunkworks applications.
I wanted to put a picture of a skunk up there.
Does anybody know what a Skunkworks application is? Okay, the name came from who?
Do you know what you know what Skunkworks is?
No.
Oh.
I do marketing. I'm like
Oh,
outside.
We'll
I
get
know the
you.
company very well, but not.
We'll get you up there.
The name came from World War II Lockheed Martin. They were doing top secret development. And this particular group was put into a tent outside of a plastic factory in California. And the researchers were smelling the plastic, and it smelled like skunks. And so they kind of came up with this name, Skunkworks. But the idea of the Skunkworks application is an advanced or maybe a secret project that requires very specialized computer structures and very specialized equipment. And a lot of the times we don't want the IT support. We want it totally isolated. So we can do that with the cloud. Is we can just go in there and say, hey, we need these servers to do, we need this. Provide this resources for us. Well, how long do you need it? 8 months. And when we're done, we get rid of it. So we don't need any IT support. It's just an isolated piece. Hybrid applications. Part of it's on yours, part of it's on us. I could say you can do email systems like that. You can have some of the email running on your system, and we can host some of the email on our system. We can create a trust relationship between the environments, and you can have half of the people on your side, and we'll have half of the people on our side. So we can do applications like that. Now the other problem is. So, Let me talk to you a little bit about Blue Sky Technologies. You know, at one point I didn't think I was going to make this. Blue Sky Technologies is what do we do? We do cloud servers. We do all three varieties of the PASS, the IISS, and the SA, all versions of the cloud servers. We have cloud servers, they're highly secure, very proud of them. We also do custom consulting. We gave you a little brochure about some of the things that we do, some of the different consulting. We focus a lot on SharePoint. I really love SharePoint. If you don't know what SharePoint is, maybe that should be a seminar. That should be a learn over lunch, because here's one thing I do with my SharePoint clients. What do you do, and don't take this wrong, I pointed her. What do you do stupid in your company?
Redundancy.
And SharePoint can make it much more efficient. I'll give you an example. For this one company, every 2 weeks they get paid. That's not the stupid part. The employees like that. But every 2 weeks they have to fill in a timesheet. And that process for that timesheet is they get emailed an Excel application, they open it up in Excel, they fill in the information, they email it back to their boss. Somebody prints it, walks it down to somebody else who signs it, who walks it back in there, and then they pump it into their financial database. That's stupid. That can be done totally electronically. That can be totally electronically done in SharePoint and have the whole path all automated. Workflows, timesheets, expense reports. Anything. One thing you look at, anything you do in paper, we can turn it into SharePoint and make you go almost paperless. It's a great, great product. And if you own a Windows server, you own SharePoint. There's two versions. One you have to pay for, but you own the free. You have the free version. You can do it. It's amazing what you can do with that product. Exchange. Does anybody use email? Okay, that's what Exchange does. Virtualization. We can convert you. We can take a physical server and turn it into a virtual server. It's called P2V. We can take the physical server and virtualize it. The AD is Active Directory. We also do managed services. Pretty much what we're doing here. We're their IT. On the best time, the only time they see me is usually when I'm coming in to do something for. It's not for anything to do with them. You know, that's the way we really like it. Is the only time you really see us is just for us to come visit and say hi and bring you some cookies or something like that. Because we do everything behind the scenes. We set it all up. We do it all remotely. We can get into any one of their computers and if they have a problem, we can connect to it. This is some of our contact information. We have business cards that we're going to give you. Questions? Yes, sir.
Earlier you said in case of a crash, the last thing that you want to do is to go to the backup server. What are the other options?
Well, in most server environments, there's something called shadow copies. And let me give you a scenario of that, because I actually did this a couple days ago. I was working on a PowerPoint presentation. I had it built. In fact, it was this one. I had it built, and I needed to tweak it. But I wanted to keep the other one. And instead of hitting save as, I hit save, which overwrote the application. Well, with shadow copies, the previous version was still there. So I just reverted back to the previous version. I was able to do that. By the way, if you have a Windows 7 computer, that's working on your Windows 7 computers right now. Previous versions, the shadow copies, it's automatically on the Windows 7 computers. So that's one of the things, is that for all of their shares and things like that, we've got previous versions. We can actually take them back probably 6 months. Wow. Depending on how many times they change the data, we can take them back that far. And it doesn't take that long. We've had clients call us up and say, the Excel spreadsheet doesn't work. And not by then I'm logged on. Well, when did it work? Friday. Friday at 10 or Friday at 2? Because I set my shadows to run at 10 and 2. And they go, I don't know, Friday. And, okay, does it work now? Yes. We're good to go. Because otherwise tape, that would require, I'd have to go get the tape from the vault. They'd have to bring it over here. We're talking 4 hours, minimalistically. This one took 40 seconds.